later because that's very loud. Great. You're right with the
Everything's cool.
Okay, good. All right, so I think I'm just start with I think I'm gonna just make it as a basic question for the beginning because it's very interesting for me as well. To like, how did you personally came to ballroom, and how come New Way?
Okay, so when I came, so I've been a natural dancer. You know, I've never been a trained dancer. Always just naturally dancing from young, but I started to take it more seriously after I finished high school. So about the age of like 2021, and I had a friend in the neighborhood who I knew since we knew each other since kindergarten, and he was gay. I wasn't at the time, and he would like see me going about in the neighborhood, and he was like, "Hey, Stan, would you want to come to this fashion show, like model for this fashion show?" And I was like, "Okay, cool." I didn't immediately go to the fashion show, but I would go on auditions, and I auditioned for this movie, and I got in, and it was like 5 or 6 of us from this that made it from my community because I grew up in Coney Island. And Ivan, who was the friend since kindergarten, he was one of the people. And so we decided to form a dance group. He showed us Vogue, but when I first saw it, I didn't like it until I saw the other guys doing it, and they kind of put like a little twist on it a little bit. And so then I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I started to doing it. Long story short, I became the best one out of the group. And so Ivan, about a year later or 2 years later, he took me first to the Village in New York City, where a lot of the girls, the kids there, they was like, oh bitch, he would be over as a femme queen. And I was like, because I was very kind of like thug then. And so I was like, how would you talk about? I ain't be no girl, whatever. And then later on, he took me to my first house meeting, which was the House of Chanel. And when I came in the door, they was like, oh, he's going to walk realness. And Ivan was like, no, he's going to walk new way. And so they kind of gagged. And then I showed them, did a little display. And they was like, oh, yes, work, bitch. She's going to walk new way then. And that's how I came into ballroom. My first time at a ball, we walked right into the doors and the ball was going on, and it was the new way category that was happening. So they pushed me out on the floor, and I was gagging like I didn't know what to do. I got chopped. It was a mess. You know, I actually got chopped. I say 3 times because my next ball, I was nervous again. But then New Way used to be a category where so many people walked. And me and one of the guy you have on the New Way Project video, Junior.
Oh, yeah.
So me and him, we were really close friends. So me, him, and somebody else, we was running up to walk the category. And because there were so many people, they closed it down. So I consider that my third chop. But after that, I didn't. My next ball that I did, I made it to the last battle. So it was me and Andre Mizrahi. And they picked him, but Andre stopped the ball and he told the whole audience, he was like, no, this guy deserves it right here. And so he gave me my first trophy. From there on, it was history.
That's nice. That's so beautiful to know. I love these kind of stories, like just like knowing because that was before I was even born, so I don't even know. This is for me like, oh wow, I can put myself into that situation. It's so cute. That's so
Yeah.
nice. So
It was,
how was then the new way? Like you said, there were many people walking new way at that time. Like, how was the generation back then? Like, how was it in with everyone?
so I think that of course because we didn't have like social media, um we didn't have we didn't have internet. Um it was a very hidden community.
Mm.
Um and when you came, the new way kids in, in ballroom, there were so many different styles. Like there was a basic foundation, but there were everybody had their own little thing. And I
Mm.
think that was because like we didn't, the only time we came together and I guess you can say practice was probably in a club. But I know for myself, I wasn't really a club person. And the guy who brought me to ballroom, Ivan, he kind of like brought me to ballroom and dropped me off and then he left. So I had to teach myself, right? So yeah, I think it was more people had their own aesthetics more. Yeah. Whereas now, we have all the social media and everything. We can communicate like we're doing now. So I think that a lot of the voguing can look very similar.
Mm.
There were some people who were similar when back in my day, but I think that happens if you were a part of a particular house and that house had a certain style, like the ninjas would vogue like ninjas, the extravaganzas vogue like extravaganzas, um, the Revlons, sort of like that.
Mm. Okay. So was there like somewhat of like, oh, this is basic new way, you have to do this and this and this, kind of like, five elements kind of thing. Like, what was it for new way, or what should it still be in new way, in a way?
So there's a base foundation for New Way. So New Way includes these three things. It includes is a base. It includes contortion, gymnastics, and an abstract appeal, like an abstract agile appeal. So if I was to paint that picture visually, it would be like me, Jose, Revlon, Jose Extrava, the stretch contortion type, the also like I can be considered like in the gym. Me and Damian Revlon could be like the gymnastics, but also John Ebony. I don't think you guys hear a lot about him, but he used a lot of gymnastics in his new way. And the abstract agile type would be like a Andre Mizrahi, the John Ebony. There was another kid named John Moschino who they just did these weird like abstract things with their body, and they
Oh, yeah.
kind of like bouncy sort of. A lot of headstands and manipulations with the headstands and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's
But then
so.
you have the elements after that. But the base foundation is the gymnastics, the contortion, and then the abstract agile appeal.
Mm. So what are then, for everyone, just to say that again, the what would you consider the basic on top of those three ones?
You mean the elements?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the elements would include posing, right? Because posing is what started all Vogue. So it
Mhm.
should be very dominant in your performance, right? There's posing. Then here are other elements that they don't talk about, like grace, poise. Your vote should look effortless. It shouldn't look You shouldn't look rushed. It should look easy. It should be for judges and onlookers. It should be easy for us to watch it. Right? So it needs to have a certain amount of grace and poise, which translates to an effortlessness. The other thing is character and attitude, right? You can be the best dancer in the world, but if your face is blank and you're not exuding any type of feeling, it looks empty. It's not engaging. You know, so character and attitude. And I always tell people, because I know it's hard to get on the floor and perform in front of a whole bunch of people. And a lot of times when you get on the floor, you kind of blank. So I always try to tell people, if you can't remember to like exude that feeling, then just breathe, because breathing relaxes your face. Right. Then we have, so there are about 17 of them, I think. But then we have storytelling, right? So storytelling, it can be literal, or it can be your version of it. So sometimes when people vote, they're very literal. They'll do things like, oh, I'm going there, blah, 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 this whole thing. So that's literal, which is okay. Either one is okay. But to translate storytelling, it's just counts of 8. And making sure that it flows naturally with your body and that it's fluid. Let's take the catwalk, for example. When people do the catwalk, back in the day when they did the catwalk, you did the catwalk predominantly for a lot of your performance, from all the way from the front straight up to the back. But nowadays, they'll do like a 4-count catwalk, maybe an 8, and then it's on to a little bit of hands, and then stunt. But whatever you're going to do, whatever you start off with, I always say at least give 1 count of 8. You can tell if the crowd is liking it. Give 2 or 3 counts of 8, because it's obviously beautiful to look at, and just follow the natural, follow your body where it naturally wants to go, so that it looks organic. You don't look like you started here, but then all of a sudden you're on the floor. If you start here, you want to work your way down, so that it's fluid and it makes sense.
Okay.
So storytelling. And also when you're storytelling, you have to think of it like sentences. And you'll hear, if you really listen to music, you will hear that the music has 8 counts. It'll have a beginning, and then it'll have an end, and it will be a period at the end. So you have to put a period at the end of your story. You have to think of it like, I'm writing, a paragraph is 2 to 3 sentences. So in those sentences, you have commas, but you always have a period to end that paragraph. And that's storytelling in your vogue. So if you're voguing and you do your thing, you can be doing hands, blah, 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 blah. You do it for the full count of that music, and then you put a period at the end, and the period translates to a pose or a dip.
I hear that.
Yeah.
So these you would consider them as like the main structures, or main structures.
Musicality, introductions, form, lines, catwalk, duck walk, hands, arms, dips, spins, floor performance, even hair control. You got to consider variations, like having different textures in your performance. You don't want it to look monotone and just be like just straight all the time. Give some different textures so it's interesting. I have a formula for all categories. Is 80% the bass foundation of that category, 80 or 85%, the base foundation of that category, and then 15 or 20% of what you want to add into it. But just make sure that that 15 to 20% that you're adding to it applies to the category that you're walking. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. I took a workshop at Street Star 2015, no, 16. And that was the one that just made click for me because I wanted to learn like so much the new way part. And then that little thing to like add that little thing to it that still fits with the 80%, but to have that little thing to know that it is possible, that just made it for me.
Yeah, because that's how it evolves. You know, we all have something special about ourselves. And you really need to apply that to whatever category you're doing so that it becomes you, and also that it looks organic. That is so important.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a very good one. A nice formula. So because you already made some references to like, oh, how it is nowadays, how was it back then? Like, what is your view? If it's good or bad, I don't know how you see things if you do weight them like that. But just to know your view on how new way is nowadays, or even arms, how it is nowadays, how it was back then. How do you feel about it? What do you think about the evolution throughout?
Okay. Well, I'll go with the good stuff first.
Okay.
I'm glad that people aren't letting it die because, you know, here in the USA, I've had at least like maybe 10 to 13 people that I was training to do New Way, and they all ended up saying, hey, Dad, like, I want to vote femme. And so, you know, but, you know, in ballroom, each category has its dominant moment. And, you know, sometimes they go away for a while and then they resurface later, or sometimes they just go away and never come back. So I'm glad that you guys are not letting it die and you're willing to learn its foundation properly. I think another benefit of today is that because we have social media and we can communicate better with each other, you guys learned faster than we did. So that's to see. And I think it's also beautiful to see that there are a lot more women doing New Way. We've had women doing it in the past, but not as much as now. So yeah, those are my good points. Now the bad points.
All right, okay. Hit us.
Okay. So the bad points is things like I wish people would stick to the foundation and the criteria of the category and not try to change it, because I see that happening already. I've seen some people say, oh, classic New Way, and I forgot what's the other word they use for today's New Way.
I heard new way, or like, I don't know.
Yeah, which makes absolutely no sense, because if you think about it, New Way was created because it was one category, but then we had more people coming in, evolving it. You know, dancers came in, people came in who use stretch, arm clicks, and gymnastics and stuff. And so some people felt like, oh, I can't do that, and it's not fair, so let's create a new category. So New Way is technically the evolution of Vogue. So to say like New Way is like, oh, the evolution squared, you know, it doesn't make any sense.
I hear that.
And I also feel like the point of ballroom is to compete against each other. So if you can't do something, then you need to find something that you are good at to try to capture the crowd, capture the moment. You can't always create a separation every time you're not able to do what somebody else can do. Perfect example is Andre Mizrahi and Jose Revlon. They battle each other time, and even Jose Extravaganza and myself and Andre, we battle time and time again, along with many others who don't necessarily have the stretch that we guys have. Not to mention, I don't consider myself super flexible, but but we battled before, and sometimes Andre will win, sometimes Jose will win. It's all how you distribute your talent.
Mm-hmm.
You can be what you guys call classic new way, and still battle somebody from the new school. And it can go either way, depending on how that person utilizes their artistic ability. So that's one of the bad points that I wish would go away, and just stick to the foundation. But you can still evolve it. Like I said, with that formula. I would love to see more grace and poise as dominating elements, because sometimes I watch the category and it looks like it's in fast forward, or it can almost sometimes look like a wrestling match, like who's in front of who, and it's not about that. I've seen people battle. I've seen them battle. One person will be in the front and another person will be back here, and this person will go, boom, boom,
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be in the front, right? Because you want to be visible, you want to be seen. But it should look nonchalant, it should look effortless. It should look like that was a part of your plan, like you flipped, boom, and you just landed there. Not like, oh, so that's one of the things that I would see go away. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, so classes and training. So I think that classes are awesome, but I think you have to be a really smart person, so that when you take someone's class, you learn from that, but you should always separate yourself from that person's teaching and from the class, because it's so important to add your own thing. I take very great pride in teaching so many people. And when those people get compliments and they say, oh, I learned from Stan, like people are like, oh, they can't attach me with anyone, because the people I teach, I make it a point that they don't look like me. Actually, I want them to look better than me. So when I see people out here voguing, and I can look at them and be like, oh, you look like this person, you look like that person.
Yeah.
It's not good. So you have to be able to separate yourself from the class and the teacher, so that you don't end up looking like your teacher. You need to look better than your teacher. So that's another thing. What is? Oh, of course, like culture vultures, and a tunnel vision way of thinking. So culture vultures, we all know what that is. That's one thing I hope would change, because so I think that it's cool if you become a part of ballroom and you're a dancer and you want to use whatever you do in ballroom as a thing to earn income and all of that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think there's a problem with that when you solely come in just to take and you go away and just benefit off it, but you never explain the history, you know, you're not a part of ballroom, and I'm not only talking about categories walking, but the fight that ballroom represents, you know? So I've seen people do that as well in the New Way category. And you can immediately tell that it's just like they came in for some 6 easy lessons and then they bounce. You can tell there's no authenticity to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are things I hate about it. And then the tunnel vision way of thinking, which is a lot of people think that New Way is solely about flexibility, and it's not. It is not. Actually, that abstract, agile way came before the flexibility in the gymnastics. So if anything, it's more about the agile part, you know, because that stems from old way. I just hate to be on panels and see people get chopped because, oh, they didn't do a split. Who cares? You know? Also, another thing with that is that I've seen people judge the category and they specifically look for like, oh, an arm click, lines, and a split. And with all of those elements that I said, you don't have to do all of those elements at one time. It's up to you how you choose to display it, just that you embody the category. You know what I'm saying? So I wish that tunnel vision way of thinking would go away.
I hear that. But how would you judge, like, for anyone, I mean, here, like, I sometimes judge as well, like, how would you tell, or, you know, anyone who ever judges or will even judge, that's a thing. I thought back then I'm not going to judge at some point, but then I did, and then it was like, oh wow. So it's like good to know, like, how would you then say, like, for in general, like, how is it the best way to judge New Way? Will it be like, okay, agile kind of appeal with, or is it like a personal judgy thing, like, oh no, I love more contortion, that's why I go for the contortion girl? Or how would you judge it properly then?
Well, you have to judge it according to what that person is giving you artistically. I think before firsthand, you have to be open-minded as a judge. Like there's a lot of things to consider when becoming a judge. The first thing is you need to know the category, and you need to know the base foundation and the elements of that category. Like you can't be limited because ballroom is freestyle, most of it, you know, voguing is freestyle. And so it's that person's interpretation within the base foundation and the elements. Okay. And you have to be, even if, like, I like people who stretch, you know, like that's another way I got into ballroom. I saw rhythmic gymnastics. I mean, New Way. I saw rhythmic gymnastics and I was like, oh my God, I want my body to do that, you know? But you have to be open to all sorts of art, you know? Not just what you like. Otherwise, if I feel like if you know that you specifically like stretchy people, but you're not open to anything else, then you shouldn't be on the panel because it's not fair to the ballroom contestants. Right? Some other things that you have to be aware of when you're judging. Let's see. It's important to remember where you came from, you know, because we all start from somewhere. None of us are diamonds. You know, when it takes a lot to get on the floor and participate, you have to be attentive, patient, respectful, unbiased, consistent, I'm going to highlight consistent, have good energy, be an independent thinker, not be easily influenced, knowledgeable of the category and what it consists of. If you don't know, you ask. Now, I say consistency because I've seen people on a panel and they will chop someone, let's say, for being sloppy, right? But then when their house member walks and their house member is sloppy, that house member will get a 10. Or let's take another example. If you see someone come out and they walk, let's say new way, and it wasn't the best, but it was in the chop, so you give them a 10. But then someone else comes out and they give the same level of performance, but you chop them. That's not being consistent, So you have to be consistent in your judging. When you're judging new way, I think it's just really about looking at the base elements, the base foundation and the elements. If that person is articulating it, mostly for 10s. And then when it comes down to battles, you still have to use those same components, but then it's going to rely on who's more powerful, who's more effortless, who's easier for you to watch, when you're judging the battle. And who did their homework and, they completed the assignment.
Yeah.
So that's how I judge it.
That's good to know. And how would you, for like the teaching part, I'm gonna go to that question in a second, but for the teaching part, like, because I do also know a bunch of people who do those, they attach their personal style a lot also in their class. So it's also for the student to know, like, okay, I have to detach myself from that personal thing that the teacher is maybe even teaching me. Some teachers do that. They put their personal style into it. They don't just teach the new way, but they add their own little spice into it to, I don't know, promote the class, promote the workshop, whatever the case. So yeah, is there like also an advice for you for the people who do teach new way to other people in various different areas? Yeah, just give them an advice.
Yeah, I give my way of teaching it, and that is what I like to do with people, right? Because like I said, I believe that everybody has something special to offer. It's just a matter of that person taking time out to know who they are. You have to know who you are and pay attention to who you are. You have to pay attention to your body and what your body naturally wants to do, what you do in everyday life, and apply that to the category. But I like to teach people the basics, make sure that they understand all the basics, and then slowly build them from there. That's kind of why I don't like huge classes, because I really like to take time and spend individual time with people. Because when they move, you will see certain things. And I feel like as a teacher, it's your job to help them apply that to their performance. That's what makes it look organic. That's what makes people have a signature style. Yeah. I think as a teacher also, again, I mean, some people may have like egos, and that's what may contribute to them wanting their kids or their students to vote like them. Mm-hmm. Me, I feel like I'm more for the art form and more for the evolution, and I like for people to look better than me, so that whoever they teaches, they can make them look like it should be an ongoing thing, I guess that's an individual thing, whether a person is more selfless or more ego. So
okay.
yeah, I mean, you can't help that a lot. You know, people are going to do what they want to do.
That's very true. Okay. But at least for the ones who are here or will rewatch this, that it is it's a seed planted there for people who maybe do it or maybe don't do it. Who knows? It's always good to,
Yeah.
I mean, because I feel like the teaching part is also very important for next generations. Like you say, like you want your kids to be like better than you. So it grows and it grows and it grows in like various ways. And there are different ways of new way, different artistic ways of it. And yeah, so I felt like that's important for people also to know that it's an important fact of how you teach it, but also how you take the information. So yeah,
Right.
that was
It's important on both parts, you know, work for both people. And you know, I constantly learn. I learn from you guys all the time, watching you or being around you. And one of Goma posted something on our house page the other day. I think it's a Japanese word called shoshin. I
okay.
hope that's right. Shoshin.
I'm not sure.
So it means that we're all beginners, we're all students. So even though I've been doing this close to 30 years, I'm still learning, you know, like constantly learning. The things that I'm telling you guys about the elements and stuff, sometimes when I Vogue, I'm like, oh, you need to get it together. Why your face was so stiff? Or, you know, I'm still constantly working on it always. You know, so I feel like we're all learning no matter who's been doing what for whatever length of time. So it's a nice, to me, that's a nice thing to have in your head, whether you're a teacher, a student, you know. And of course there's respect levels and all of that, blah blah blah, which should be equal, but we all learn from each other, you know.
That's very true. That's nice. I think I have like two more, maybe three more questions, but definitely two ones. And then it will be just open for Q&A for everyone. So everyone can like have a little right. And I think someone did ask something in the group, in the chat right now. Jasmine asked, could you please explain more on what you mean by agile? Is it moving quickly?
It's not necessarily moving quickly. You can move it any speed. It's just like I don't know if any of you guys look at Andre Mizrahi Vogue. So Andre Mizrahi is a new way icon, and when he vogues, he has a lot of popping elements. Like boom, he does this thing where his shoulder pops all the time. I used to do it, but it went away. He bounces a lot on the floor when he's doing his floor performance, doing like leg swipes into head spins. So when I say agile, I mean people who can move really well at different speeds on the floor. Okay. As opposed to like a person like myself, Jose Extrava, Jose Revlon, where we kind of move like this sort of on the floor. It's like this type of movement, boom, boom, you know, more smooth. We're not too bouncy, more flowy type, graceful, that type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, she's nodding her head, so I guess she got it. It's good to know. Yeah, about actually the arms part, I was also wondering, do you know when that kind of like came about, the having arms control and having new way, or was it always like that? Or and also what makes it a difference? Because I do see also nowadays a lot just do arms in their new way, and then maybe one click and then it's like, oh yeah, tense for new way. So just like to explain that difference as well.
Okay, so that's allowed to do, because again, remember, it's up to you to decide which elements you want to use, right?
Mm.
So you can do that and get tens for new way, but here's the thing. A person, let's say you battle someone, that person battles somebody who does arms as well, but also has legs, also has back, also has gymnastic or agile abilities. If the person who does only arms is not nasty, more than likely that other person may win, or they may lose because the person who has all of those different elements may not know how to execute them that well. And the person who has arms may have amazing, beautiful arms. So, so that's allowed. Now, New Way came first and then arms after, you know. The difference between the two, arms is usually sitting or standing, and you're using predominantly from your torso on up to your head. The reason I say your torso is because a lot of times when we're voguing, like the torso is important because it shows your center, like, so your arms are moving, but you want to isolate your center. So you're using from here on up for arms, bow, bow, like that. And you're isolating, boom, boom, like that. The new way you use total body. You're allowed to use total body, But with arms control, yes, it's just arms. You're using arms and hands, but it's predominantly arms. You're using total body for new way, and you're allowed to use more of your space. You don't have to, but you're allowed. So you can't do arms control and go on the floor. That's a chop.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about moving the legs, like left, right? Because I have seen that also every now and then.
Yes. So, and you mean like in arms control and hands performance and stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I hate a chair because I feel like it just stifles your body movement. But I can vote in the chair, of course. But so moving your legs and stuff is allowed. It's like, but you have to create like this invisible box. And I tell people when you're voguing, if you're voguing up here and everything, this is super important, but your stances, which is from your waist on down to your feet, is equally as important. You need to have a strong, beautiful foundation. You can't be beautiful up here and then your legs is just like this.
Yeah.
Like this. Like you need strong foundation. And so when you're doing arms and stuff, you can move the legs there. There, boom, boom. But you shouldn't be like all over the place, right? The only times that you do use a full walk when you do arms control, I think, is when you're coming out for your tens. If they haven't told you to line up and you just have to kind of like come out from wherever, then you will come out from the back and you would do arms up to the judges.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time that you're doing like full walking around.
Okay. Yeah. That's good to know. Because a lot would be like, I do hear it a lot here, especially in Europe. The whole of like, oh, you use your legs, chop. You use your legs, chop. It's like going a little bit down. But then I do see older videos where everything like that was allowed. So I'm just like, all right, okay, there's something misinformation.
Yeah, so yeah, I think people just like take certain things and they want it their way, so they create those things. But if you look, there's a video of Aviance battling Edwin in Paris. Yeah. I forgot which ball that was. But if you look at Aviance's legs, he does like little stances. And if you think about it, stances are important because let's say this movement that I do where I roll my arms back like that and catch it, it looks nice that way, but it's going to look better if I'm voguing and then I go pow, that way. Mm-hmm. So certain movements are going to look better at different angles. So it makes sense that you should be able to adjust your body minimally in like that invisible square. If you think of Kevin Jay-Z Prodigy, he did this beat called Vogue in Your Box.
Yeah.
That's what that is. He's like, vogue in your box, vogue in your box. You're supposed to be able to vogue in a box, only in that box, but that doesn't mean you have to stand stiff in the box.
Okay. Yeah. That's good to know. Thank you. Yeah. I think let me just see. How is everyone right now so far? Good. I see thumbs. Nice. Cute. All right. So yeah, I think just last question and from my side, and then I will open up to the Q&A. So feel free to have things written down, and I will also then read them out. So you don't have to read them, Stan.
Okay.
Okay, last question from me. What is it that you would wish to see for the future of New Way for everyone that's here? You'll think.
Okay, so for the future of New Way, I would like to see the basic elements projected more, and people be more open to all forms of the base foundation, which is, like I said, the contortion, the agile vogue, and the gymnastic ability. You know, there's a lot of those elements that I read that people don't always use in their New Way. So I feel like as a teacher also, when I'm teaching, I always tell people like, you can spin, you know, like there's a catwalk for New Way. It doesn't look like the catwalk in Vogue Femme, but there's a catwalk for New Way. There's a duck walk for New Way. There are all of those elements. Some people have hair, you know, use your hair in New Way. Jose Revlon used to do it a lot. It was over, you know. Yeah, miming. A lot of times, so you guys have to be careful when you're miming. So if you're doing hands performance, and you do certain things, whatever you do, if you blow a kiss, just make sure that it looks organic and it looks believable. It shouldn't look like play. Like it needs to look believable. So that's that thing that I would like to see. Find people finding their own originality and identity in the category. Yeah, to get rid of that little subdivide, like the classic and this, like I would like to see that definitely go away. Just let the category organically evolve. It will happen. It's been happening for years. So that, and I would like to see the category televised more, because I think in today's world, every time you hear about ballroom on TV or even a lot of times on social media, all you see is Vogue Femme, which I absolutely love Vogue Femme. But I think if the world saw a New Way, they would like lose it. New Way and Old Way, you know, done properly, they would lose it.
That's true.
So that's what I would like to see.
All right. Thank you for answering my questions, for all these, for the knowledge, for the wisdom, for the advices. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it so far.
I did. I always enjoy these things.
Okay, good. All right, let's go to the Q&As then, because yeah, I already see quite some coming out. So we have Razvan Matei. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. So what advice would you have for those that were not born directly in the ballroom culture but are trying to be a part of it? I'm guessing support, visibility, knowledge, question mark.
What advice would I have? Just come in and be a part of it. I mean, if it's sincere, there's not much thought that you need to put into it. Just more than learning the history, learning what it's about. Yeah, and participating and being a part of it. In the ballroom community, ballroom community was created by people of color. And I'd say 90% of the time, we accept everybody. We always have from the very beginning, even before me. When I came into ballroom, I wasn't gay. I became gay maybe 2 years later. Long story, another story. But they accept everybody. So as long as you're sincerely coming into it and you're interested, like we welcome you, come and be a part. Know what the history is and be respectable of it. Be respectable of ballroom and its categories. And that's it.
Yeah, is that question answering your question? Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I see everyone. So like I'm gonna ask you if that's answered, and then if you give me a thumbs up for everyone who's having questions here, that would help. Good. All right. So we have Jose Lapas 007. Do you think there are certain practices for presence and attitudes? There are times where I have it during practice, but lose it for a while. That's the question.
Yeah. Those practices, one, definitely repetition, right? You have to be, once you realize what the problem is, that's the first part. Then you can like constantly just like, I tell people, sit in front of a mirror. It's like modeling. You have to sit in front of that mirror. You have to play with your face. When you're doing your poses and all of that, you have to look at the silhouettes that you're creating. Look at the lines. If you notice your feet is not pointed, point your feet, you know? If you know that you blank out and you forget to do it when you're battling, but you do it amazing at home, just tell yourself, breathe. Because sometimes when you're practicing something, it takes a while before it settles in your body. So, but if you're constantly practicing it, it will eventually just settle in and become part of your natural performance. You know, also pay attention to the things you do when no one else is watching or when you're hanging out with your friends, because those are things that you naturally do probably all the time. So put those things into your performance so it looks organic. Does that make sense, Jose?
Amazing. All right, next question. So we have Jared Jonathan Luna. Hi, can you talk some more about how catwalk and dogwalk is usually done for New Way? Question mark.
Yeah, so, okay. So those things you use. All right, so I have a thing on YouTube that I create, my YouTube page that I created. You guys can subscribe to it, Stan Milan. But I put videos there because unlike other dance forms, like let's say ballet, you can say, oh, ma, grand plie, blah, blah, blah. But in in New Way or in Vogue categories, there are no technical names for anything. So I put videos in there for you guys to watch. So when I explain something to it, you can go in there and watch it. And then you'll be like, oh, okay, it makes sense. So the catwalk for New Way is kind of like that slow walk, which is probably here. So, so it's just like this. You know, one foot in front of the other. Can you see it? One foot in front of the other, or you can crisscross them, right? Boom. And it's like that walk. But then there's also this thing that I kind of created, which is like boom, boom. It's like a traveling kind of skip.
Mm-hmm.
Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
So that would be considered the catwalks for New Way. It's just like that slow walk. It's still a catwalk, but it's just a way to get you from point A to point B. The duck walk for New Way is the ninja. Y'all know that ninja duck walk? That's the duck walk for New Way. You don't want to do the Vogue Femme duck walk because that's the chop. You don't want to do a duck walk where, and pardon my knees, they don't work anymore. But you don't want to do a duck walk where you're like moving like this. Like you can't, I can't do it. I'm not going to try to. But basically the ninja duck walk is the duck walk for New. So it's like that, you're like squatted and it's like that fast moving. Yeah.
Okay, good. Did it? I don't see your thumbs up, but I hope that answered your question. Then we have Christian Talu. Oh, heart. Hi Stanley, hi Michelle. I was just wondering, when doing New Way and combining Old Way movements, are there any restrictions as well, such as you could get a chop when doing Old Way dip, etc.? Oh, I guess it's about the differentiating the two. And yeah.
So there were some things that you can incorporate from Old Way into your New Way, but you always have to end it in New Way. And you have to be very careful with that, because if you put two, okay, I'll give you an example. Javier, right? When Javier first started walking, he kind of had like an Old Way appeal with New Way, you know, and it worked, you know. I think later on, he really refined it, and he still has it, but he's like refined it even more. So you have to really be careful with that. It can be done, but there are certain things in Old Way you can't use in New Way. The same if you're doing New Way, if you're doing Old Way, right? So there's a guy named Brian, I think Brian Balenciaga. Oh, and also Derek Icon, right? So when Derek Icon is doing Old Way, he has like this flexibility to him. I don't know if you guys watched him, but his back is very flexible. So he'll do spins, and when he spins, his back really like contorts. But he ends it with an Old Way flair because that's the base category. So if you're doing New Way and you add an Old Way element into it, that Old Way element is considered to be your 15 or 20%. But you always have to, the period at the end of the sentence is New Way. So if you do the Old Way element, you end it with a New Way pose, a New Way dip. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Thumbs up. Love. Yes. Amazing. Yeah, that question we already had. Simon Poosh, sorry for maybe not pronouncing that name right. So what would be the beginning steps of clicking? Question mark.
Clicking. So, okay, clicking. So there's a misconception with flexibility in general. People are like, oh, you're double jointed. No such thing, okay? All you're doing is stretching your muscles, okay? So with clicking, you always want to be, with any type of stretch, you want to be really careful with your body. You want to pay attention to what your body tells you, all right? And you want to start out slow, you know? Get you the towel, or go to the wall. So there are two parts when we do arm stretches. I think naturally most people want to click this way, right? And that's the towel, like they stretch this way. But if you really want to get your full stretches, not only do you have to stretch this way, also you need to stretch your sides, because certain parts of our bodies will help other parts of our bodies go even further. So the sides, but you also want to stretch your chest. A lot of people don't stretch their chest, you know. That's why I'm able to just sit and boom, go back like that, because I've stretched my chest, which in turn stretches all of this, and I can go all the way back like that. So you just take your time, you know, go to your wall. I put my arm here, and then you pull out. Now, when you do this, also, you want to watch out, because our arm naturally wants to go under, but you have to make sure that your armpit faces the wall, and you turn, and your goal is to be able to see your fingertips over here, you know, and then your arm will open up this way, and you stretch it this way as well. But you take your time and stretch it. Your body will tell you when it's been too much. If you hear something weird or feel something, stop. You know, a lot of times when we start to gain this type of flexibility, we get excited and we be like, yes, I want to go hard. Chill, relax. You want to vogue or dance for a long, long time. So respect your body and listen to it. Just don't be lazy, you know? And I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, I can't get flexible like that. I wasn't born with it. I wasn't born with it either. I had a little flexibility in my back, maybe a tinge in my arm, you know? And I started when I was 21. All it is like when you go to the gym, if you're constantly lifting weights, what are you going to get? Muscles. So if you're constantly stretching your body, consistently, it has no choice but to get more flexible. Okay.
Yeah. Did I answer the question? Amazing. Sweet. There are a couple more. You still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Sweet. Okay, so we have Amazon Sun from Thailand. He asked if you could use Asian dance hand gestures adding to the new way, whether it's Thai dance, Indian dance, Balinese dance, Chinese dance, etc.
Yep. That's part of your 15, 20%. I do it. I be voguing, and I'll be like, boom, you know, boom, boom, you know, boom, 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 boom. So what I tell people first, right? Always do the basics first. Think of it as any other dance form. You know, again, in ballet, you can't go into ballet and do ballet 1 and then think you're going to go to ballet 4. You're going to look crazy. Do the basics. Make sure that is solidified in your body and get it to the point where it feels natural, and then start adding in your other things. When it comes to hands, one of my big things, I hate to see this. Like, I hate to see people vogue like this, especially in both them that is not cunt. But like, your hands should, I feel like your hands should move like water first. Do you guys know that the avatar? What's the first element that the avatar learns? Water. Water is the first element. Make sure, get your hands to flow. You have a line in New Way, like this. If you go like this, your line is broken, right? Can you see that? If your hands are like this, your energy keeps going, your line is complete, right? So get that first, get the relaxation, get that flow in your hands so that they're not like this, like this. Get that flow. And once you master that, then you can start adding like this, because it'll move so much differently. It's not that you can't add anything you want in there, it's just making it look cohesive and fluid, right? So get the basics first, and yes, you can add all of that stuff and just make sure it's in alignment with the category that you're adding it to. And the formula, you don't want to have 80% like Chinese hand movements and then 20% New Way. You want to have it the opposite. You want the 80% New Way and then add your little, whatever your signature is.
Sweet. Did that answer your question? Yes. Amazing. Have a couple more, seems like. I think 3 for now. So we have from Irina Milan. Can you tell us a story from back in the days, being at a ball or in the club, which can give us a deeper understanding of the culture? Anything you would like to share with us? Heart.
Okay, well, I'll say about the clubs. I've never really been a club person. My friends would always have to drag me to the clubs. Uh, and I mean, I've had some good memories in the club. There's people like Andre, Mizrahi, Eli, Ebony, who was amazing. That and Jose Revlon. Like I remember battling in the clubs. And those were some really good memories. I used to love how the battles would start, right? Because the house kids always had their own area. Like the extravaganzas would be over here. And at that time, like the Magnifiques would be in this corner. It was just like their designated spots. And the music would be playing, and one person would be in the middle of the floor dancing. But they would see their rival across from them. So they would be, so the rival is back here. So they would be like dancing. And the battle would always start like, boom, boom, And then the other person on the other side would be dancing. And then they would do the same thing. And then at one point, they would just turn around and just go at it. I didn't like dancing in clubs because I can barely see. And the clubs were always dark. And so I could never find my balance in the club. But there was definitely some good moments in the club. But what was the other part of her question? The club.
If you have also a story back in the days being at a ball or a club, that gives a deeper understanding of the culture.
Of the culture. I think my first time coming into the ballroom, when I came into it's always like oh my God, like this exists. When I first came into ballroom, just seeing like the femme queens, I was like so clueless. And, again, I was kind of like the trade. So all the femme queens, as soon as they see that, they're like, hi, they're all up in your face. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? And my friend is like, he explained to me what a femme queen was. And I was like, oh my God. I remember seeing the Milans walk, and I wasn't in the house at that time, but there was this category called satanic punk rock versus S&M. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but the Milan, I know that I always have this vision of the Milans being like in all black, very goth. It was like 5 to 10 of them coming down the runway, just like dancing. And all I saw was like a chicken. One of them had a chicken and they started swinging the chicken around and the body flew off. And I was just like mortified. I was just like, what the oh this is? So yeah, I think that when you come into ballroom, it is just one of those things where you're always gagging. And it takes a while for your body to be like, to absorb it and be like, okay. But it's a very contagious thing. Like everyone always loves it. When I speak to people about voguing, I'll ask them like, oh, have you ever danced before? And they're like, yeah, I used to do I don't know, ballet, hip hop, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But once they find Vogue, then they tend to kind of just Vogue. You know, before I found voguing, like I said, I was doing hip hop and house dancing strictly. Now I don't do that. I have probably effects of it in my performance, but I just vogue now. I'm a voguer, you know, period. So I find that with a lot of people who do other dance forms, once they come into ballroom or into voguing, they really grasp a hold of it.
Nice. Cool. Was that a beautiful story? Irina, yeah. Okay, sweet. Two more questions. Unless anyone else, you know, be free. So we have Octavia Double O. Hi, I was wondering, how did you get to be part of House of Angel back in the day?
So I was a Chanel and then I became a Milan. I'm a very devoted person. I'm also very independent. Like my whole time in ballroom, I kind of navigated myself through ballroom by myself. I've had people there, like I've had the House of Chanel, I've had the House of Milan, but I go everywhere by myself. I do everything by myself. I teach myself. So at one point, you know, I think that houses go through certain phases, you know, where at one point they are at a high point, and then at some point they drop down and it gets quiet, and then it goes high again. It's just like, it's like life, you know, ups and downs. So with the point that I was a Milan, um, when I joined, it was at a really, really high point. You know, it was snatching like 99.44% of the trophies. But then it got to the low point, and it was really nobody walking except for me, which I don't mind because I'm a soloist anyway, you know, by myself anyway. And they asked me to be the father of the house because, you know, what I represented, what I've done in ballroom and everything, and I'm still walking and carrying the name. And so I said, okay, fine. As I was being the father, though, they kind of tried to dictate to me how to do it, you know, which I'm always open for conversation or whatever. But at that time I was like, okay, like it's too much. Like if y'all don't like the way I'm doing something or whatever, you do it. And, you know, there was a back and forth. I decided that I have a vision for if I'm going to lead a house, how I want to lead it. And that's when I stepped away and I started Angel. Yeah, and that's how that happened. I stopped with Angel because around that time I had a daughter. I have a daughter. Her name is Elle. She's 18 now, But at that time I had a daughter, but I also had like house kids and stuff. And it just became a bit overwhelming because sometimes as a leader or a house parent, it's cool to be a father to people, but when you're dealing, for me, when you're dealing with people of a certain age, there are certain things that I expect. Like I don't expect people of a certain age to be acting like they're 15, you know, constantly needing, because I have my life too. As house parents and as leaders, we have our lives too. We also have to give to our kids and to our community, but there should be an equal swap. You know, there should be an understanding that, you know, he has his life to live, but you're also a part of the house, so you have to give us too. But there wasn't an equal swap, and so I just thought that I needed to focus more on being a dad to my daughter at that time, and so I let the house of Angel go. And the Milans were like, child, you coming back to the house or what? And so I was like, yes, because they my family. Like I love them to death, even though they drive me absolutely bonkers. Not you, Ray and Irina.
Okay, amazing. Did that answer your question? Sweet. All right, next one we have from Yara Revlon. How to keep calm when you are battling someone more technical / experienced than you? Question mark.
So that's really important because that will give, I feel like that's something that you learn from repetition and from experience. But that's what a person like me or a legend would have over the newer people, right? Because we've been here, we've done that. And I think as you go on in the progression and the development of your new way or your category, you start to realize certain things, and you start to just distribute your talent in better ways, more refined ways. This is why I tell you guys, when you're voguing, focus on the basics, right? Make sure your basics look beautiful. Make sure that you're not out there thinking like, oh my God, I'm battling this. I can't have to like go crazy. Trust in your ability and trust in your art form. And if you find yourself panicking, we all do it, even the people who have been doing it for a long period of time. Tell yourself to breathe. If you find that you're going super fast, be like, boom, slow it up, you know? Remember, am I posing? You know, are my stances firm? Do they look beautiful? You know, do I have a glare in my eyes? You know, ask yourself a lot of times when people are voguing and we get nervous, we look at the floor a lot. You know, your three focuses when you come out on a ballroom floor, you have audience to the left, audience to the right. You have to act like you are the Beyonce and they paid the money to come see you. So when you come on that floor, you have to give the left side some attention because they paid a lot of money for them tickets. Then you got to give some to the right side. And after you do that, you take it straight to the judges because they are your deciding factor. And you always want to look in their faces because not every judge is a good judge, right? Some judges only look at one person. Some judges be on their phone. Sometimes they be doing the most. Some judges are amazing. But if a judge is on a panel and their house member is on that floor, and they want to predominantly look at their house member if they're not a good judge, your way of getting them to look at you is to look at them. So when you're on that floor, you're like, boom, 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 you know, and it's not just like this, you know, you can throw a little smirk and you give a little salute, you know, have different personalities, but make sure it fits your story, your 8 count. You know, you transfer your personalities according, kind of like your controlled schizophrenic, maybe. I hope I'm not offending anyone, but you want to have different personalities out there, okay? And breathe, you know, practice in that mirror. Also, the other thing that's important is the musicality, right? It is so important. When I teach, sometimes I use the same song for the whole lesson because it is so important that you understand every nook and cranny about that song, every different variation, right? So that when you're voguing can fit those different variations from that song. You want to know when every crash is coming up. Crashes are important in Vogue. If you're not hitting the crashes, it's like, what are you doing here? Okay. And when you hit those crashes, you marinate in the crashes. Don't just let it go, boom, and then you're out. Like, boom, boom. Give everything you do, like all your periods at the end of your sentence, you want to think about it like you're on a photo shoot. So you're giving the photographer enough time to take the picture because you don't want to have blurry pictures. Those are the things that will keep you calm, you know, and make you look refined when you're battling someone who has more years of experience than you.
Amazing. Yep, answered the question. Cool, and it seems like this is the last question from the Q&A. So we have Tang Mizrahi, sorry if I did not pronounce this right. Please share your perspective with Vogue and music entertainment. Something more commercial, question mark. What do you think, what are you thinking about it? I mean, it's wait, it's good for sprinting. Oh, I mean, it's allowed to be done in a way. It's good for spreading the culture. It's not good or more. Oh yeah, I think it's about like the entertainment part of voguing and ballroom. If it gets like too commercial, is that it's good for spreading the culture, or is it already too much to, like, you know, we always have to gatekeep in a certain way? I think it has more to do in that sense. I hope so. If not, please correct me.
Yeah, I think I understand. I think it's so we have to gatekeep, right? Of course. But it is good. I think it is good to get it out there as long as it is being shown authentically and being done properly. Because that's one of my biggest pet peeves uh, when I see voguing on TV or anywhere, even on Instagram. Damn, like sometimes I'll be scrolling past, like I'll see Voguers and I'll be like, oh, you know, because you need, like, especially nowadays, everything is on TV, it's on social media. You have to show it in its full beauty, right? Because other people are going to see it who's not a part of the ballroom culture. And of course, they're going to try to mimic it. So if you're not doing it right, imagine what they're going to look like. You know, um, a lot of times in this community, we have things stolen. You know, people of color have things stolen from us a lot, like a lot. Because honestly, I think it is in the world, people like to see whiter faces on TV, you know, and a sprinkle of whatever else, a sprinkle of Asian, a sprinkle of Latin, you know. Um, so I think in that sense, we have to gatekeep. We have to make sure that when things are represented, that people know where it's from, that it's represented properly, that is you know. Otherwise, I think that's when you get people from the community not wanting other cultures to come in, you know, because it's being snatched away or it's being represented wrong. Um, there's this guy named Todrick Hall who, yeah, it's just like really. So I'm all good for it. Also, I think people who have the ability to showcase what we're doing, they're the ones empowered, you know, the television producers and stuff like that. And sometimes they like to take what we do and transform it in their vision. But I think we have to be strong a lot of times and be like, no, if you're not going to show it in its proper light, I'm not going to do it.
Mm.
You know, and I think that sometimes the dollar convinces people to go ahead and let it get watered down and diluted, you know, or to be mixed up and shown in whatever kind of way. I mean, look at Legendary. I love Legendary for the fact that it gives the community opportunities. Like, I love that. People who want to be dancers, um, hair and makeup artists, whatever. I love that they get a chance to get their foot in the door. But when it's not shown in the proper way to the world, some people are like, oh, that's amazing. But then some people are like, that's trash. That looks like trash, you know? So, yeah, it is important how it's shown. And we have to be careful anyway, especially also because people jump on what I call their bandwagon holes. Like during Gay Pride Month, you see all these companies and corporations all of a sudden they want to be involved with the gay community. Oh, can you come vogue? Blah blah blah. And not only that, but then they want to throw you pennies. So I think those are a lot of things that we have to be aware of. It's cool to be highlighted and to be shown to the world because it also shines a light on the community. And then I think it gives people something to think about and to see us in a different light. So it has good points as well. But we have to be careful with what we're represented with and how we showcase it.
Mm. Okay. Did that answer your question? I hope. I don't know. Oh, two more questions. It's not over yet. So we have from Razran again. Just a quick question. When you're expecting the music to drop a crash, but the crash actually doesn't come, but you did the dip, how do you save yourself?
Okay. It's okay. So I think first, if you did the dip, commit to it, right? Don't panic. Don't jump out. Like when you go into your dips and your poses, remember, hold it long enough, you know, so you can get that picture. Because think 20, 25 years from now, 30 years from now, those pictures are going to be in museums. You want your picture to look exquisite. You that foot pointed, that line is there, that back is arched. Whatever you're doing, you want it to look beautiful. So commit to it. Understand that it's okay to miss one crash, right? But you must catch the next one. Okay. Um, and also be very aware of your music. Like most music is it's like a sequence. Dum 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 ha, dum 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 ha. You know, um, then some songs it changes up or whatever, but that's why it's very important to listen to music over and over till you get sick of it. I know it becomes redundant and it becomes boring, but you really need to listen to those songs until they like settle in your body. Okay. Especially
Okay.
the bass songs that we always use for ballroom. You
Mm.
want to understand those songs to the core. But you don't have to panic. Just you know, even if you walk in and you mess up, like if you walk in, sometimes I go to grab my hands and I don't catch it, you know, go to the next thing. Sometimes people can only see when you messed up if you show them that you messed up, right?
Okay. Hope that was answering your question. Great. And then we have BO007. Hi Stan, do you think we can put some moves or intentions of hands performance in arms control, some rotations or illusions? Question mark.
Of course. That was one of the like 17 elements I mentioned. That's a part of New Way. Arms control. So when you're doing arms control, here in America, right, we used to have arms control categories and hands performance categories. Again, not a lot of people can do arms control, right? Um, Also, arms control is not only flexibility is not the a part of arm control that you must have. You don't need to have the arm click or the flexibility. You can just have beautiful arms. There used to be a guy named Cleo Infinity whose arms were amazing. He didn't have any flexibility, but his arms were rock socking. So when you're doing oh yeah, in America we used to have the arms control and the hands performance, but since a lot of people couldn't do arms control and they didn't walk it, arms control faded away. So now we just have hands. And I feel like in doing hands performance, they kind of allowed us to do our arms control because again, it's not fair that we have to suffer because people can't do what other people can do. But there's a balance. So if the category is hands performance, you're doing, again, predominantly 85% hands. And of course, when you use your hands, you can't use your hands without using your arms, just like you can't use your arms without using your hands. But there's a focus. So if it's arms control, you want most of your performance to be arms. And yeah, you're going to be flicking your hands and rotating them and everything. So yeah, but most of your performance for an arms control categories is arms.
Okay. Yeah, amazing. Then we have Isa. She's asking, earlier you mentioned about bringing abstract in the New Way performance. Can you explain what you mean with abstract? Hi.
So when I say abstract to me is anything, especially when you talk about New Way, is anything that makes people go, what the hell? Like something striking can be, and you know, when people do all of this stuff, all of this, that's abstract. If you do things with your body where you contort it and you know you look a little discombobulated, like but beautiful, that's abstract. If you go on your head and do a headstand and it looks like you're balanced on your head or your shoulder, but your arm is up and your legs are spread. Those are abstract type things because those are things that make people go like, oh my God, like how are they doing this? You know? That's what I call like abstract, you know? And I don't consider myself to be super flexible. I consider rhythmic gymnasts to be super flexible, or Olga the contortionist. I don't know if y'all know her, look her up. She's fabulous. But there are so many things that you can do with your body that look like I use my arm a lot. When I used to grab my leg and click out, people think that I was contorting my whole torso and flipping it around, but really it's just my arm clicking, you know? So there are so many things that you can create with your body if you play around with it. It's important though to make sure that it flows, because I see people now, I can't replicate it, but they'll do things like this, you know, or this, and the foot would be like this. And I'm like, what? Now, don't get me wrong, that can be fab if you can do that in a way where it flows, boom, 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 and it just flows beautifully, but it makes sense, then great. But don't be trying to like, I don't know, create these shapes and it looks weird. It just looks like it doesn't belong. It doesn't look like it's a part of the new way category. So be careful in creating your abstract stuff. Make sure that it flows. You can fall into it and it just naturally flows and it looks beautiful.
Amazing. Yeah. Sweet. I think there are no more questions. We're kind of through all of them right now. How are you feeling?
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good.
that's good. Yeah, I kind of feel like if there are no more questions, I don't really have more. I would say thank you. Big thank you
Of course.
for giving your energy and your time for all these people, also for this project. Thanks for believing in this. And yeah, look at everyone. Thank you. Yeah. If you want, you can put down, I don't know, your country or wherever were you from, because I feel like we have quite a lot from different parts of this world right now. Like I know Bill's in Brazil. I know Amazon is in Thailand. Look, yeah. Oh, that's so nice. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing with us everything. And oh, I should maybe stop the recording because now it's
Also, I want to say with judging as well,
oh,
that judging is so important, right? You have to give people your energy, because they're getting out on the floor. People are nervous, or maybe they're not. Give them good energy. But another thing about being a good judge is being decisive, like, and paying attention. So I don't think that when we're judging, people should be making people battle 2 and 3 times. Oh, give me more. That's absolutely ridiculous, especially for us people who do New Way, because it's tiring, it's taxing on the body, and you be wiped out in these ridiculous poses, holding them, and then someone tells you, oh, give me more. That's ridiculous. That means that judge was not paying attention, they're indecisive, or maybe they're just being obnoxious. So I just wanted to make sure I said that, because I hate when I see that. If a judge does that, like if a judge did that at my ball, I would be like, thank you so much, I appreciate it, but I'm going to have someone else step in because you're so I think those certain things are unfair to the ball walkers. I also think it's unfair when people walk a category and they get chopped as soon as they hit the floor. Sometimes people are coming from all over the place. They're putting in a lot of work. And for a judge not to grant them the respect to at least grace the runway, that's kind of inconsiderate. Unless, of course, if the person absolutely has no business you know, because sometimes when we have balls, people who are not a part of the community, they come pop on the floor, you know, and dance and stuff. No, you can chop them really fast. But for people who put in time and energy into walking a category, it's important for judges to let them at least grace the floor. And then if they don't fit the criteria of the category, then you chop them. But for you to chop someone who just steps on the floor, that's ridiculous. So I just want to make sure we say that too, because I think that has to change in ballroom.
Mm. All right. Thank you. Thank you for them last words. Yeah, everyone is also like, if you want to like unmute yourself, I think you can just unmute yourself if you want to have a little last thank you whatsoever. But I would say also for me, thank you very much personally as well. It's been a journey with the project, a little journey. It just started, but it's still a little journey. And yeah, very excited. I might have, just for info in general, I might have actually Derek next time, Extrava.
Yeah, I just spoke to him the other day.
Oh yeah, like yeah, apparently he has been, we haven't wrote with each other yet because I was like, oh, I want to focus on this one first, so I get the lessons that I have from last time implemented in this one, so this flows better. But yeah, apparently that might be my next guest, so stay tuned. And yeah, if you want to follow up anything else that's coming up for everyone, the New Way project on Instagram, most of it is in the bio, in the link in the bio. There's still the donation link on if you want to contribute to helping people in Palestine to have just normal, at least somewhat of a normal life with water, food, shelter, and medical help. And yeah, apart from that, I guess. Oh, yeah, this all is recorded. I might have to cut that little part out now, but yeah, this all is recorded. Will be on YouTube, just so you know. I will post it also probably tomorrow, the info and the link also to the YouTube link, so everyone, oh, yeah, so you know where to find it. But yeah, unless anyone has anything else to say, or maybe you have something to say.
I just thank you for starting this. I think it's awesome. I think it's cool that you do the interviews with everybody and get everyone's perspective. Um, you should interview Andre as well, because I think that when it comes to the way, we miss out on that part because there's like Jose, you know, Jose Revlon, Jose Extravagance, and myself, Derek, Javier, and a whole bunch of other people. But we never get the perspective from the people like Andre. Well, actually, he might be one of the only ones left who does New Way in that style, you know. So, but I thank you for doing this. I think it's awesome. I thank all of you for being interested. It's lovely. I watch all your videos and stuff. Y'all amazing.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, if you want to unmute yourself, say a last bye.